Episode 2. We are back. I was gonna drink a coffee with you, but I already drank it. So now I got me looks like a CO2 or coconut water. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna discuss. This is gonna be part 2. This is basically talking about what God is and what it is made of, and then from there we can kind of get into the purpose of what we think we're here to do. And so this will help us do some deeper investigating. So with that, I want to go ahead and kind of review a little bit what we were discussing. So we did go over the Trinity, the 4 elements, and we said what Yahweh was, that we seen that Yahweh was originated from an Egyptian term, and by way of Asia. If you can imagine, that's basically I don't know if you want to get controversial, but this is essentially everything Egyptian was also Asian. So we gotta, if you want to, you can go ahead and look it up yourself. But I did the trouble of looking that up for you, so you wouldn't have to, in the mystery of the Christos Epopteia of the 144,000. We already discussed that in volume 1, where we go down to the land of, I think they call it Punt, and that's where the Indians came to move into Egypt, and from there they brought the teachings with them, and there's a lot of teachers back then. I think Eusebius was one of them who said that it was a very common sight to see at the schools, a lot of Hindu and Brahmanic teachers there. So there was a lot of just metaphysics being taught back in those days. So some of the names that were distributed, I did bring something. So I did go to the trouble of researching the names that they did call God and those places. So of the the Elohistic Egyptian cults, they had called him Hu and U, which is pronounced, when they spell it out, is U. It's IU. So Ihu is the name that we had figured out last time, that we said was related to Iho and Iha, which there's a lot of terms we're going to find out that we still use that were basically ancient. The Grecian place of or capital Athens was also a term that came from Aten. So Aten or Atum, or whatever name you want to call that, however you pronounce it, it's all the same. We're getting to the same point, is what I'm getting at. But they called God, let's see here, I can't really see this too good, and I got glasses on. So the builder of the way, or the world, they called him Ehua, Ihu, and that was Egypt and Africa. The Chaldeans called him Yao. It's Iao. Let's see. The Greeks also called it Ya or Ye. So Ia and Ie. Hungary, they called him Yao. Manx, Yi. Cornish, Iao. Welsh, Iao. Mexico, El. And Toda, Yu. Phoenicians, Yao. Ancient Jews called them Yu, Hu, Yah, Jehovah eventually. Assyrians, Yao. Egyptian Gnostics, they have their own Christianity. In their books they call them U, like spelled like IEOU, so like the vowels all together. Polynesians, Ihu or Iku. Let's see, yep. Diak, I don't even know how I pronounce that word. I just read it. Yavua or Iua. And the Nicobaros, they call him Iu. EU. Alright. I hate to read stuff while I'm doing this because it throws me off. And I don't want to waste anybody's time. So I know everybody's time is of the essence these days. But I want to get this out of the way so you can go ahead and look it up, play it back later. It is on YouTube, so there's no problem with going back and reversing this. Also, out of that initials that they had, or the acronym they have given Jehovah, IH, VH, or WH, Jehovah, Yahweh, they basically use that to divide into four, the four Olamens, or Olamens, what they call the planes, or different spheres of worlds, basically. And these would be essentially the Kabbalistic four planes. Asaya would be the very bottom. Asaya, Bria, Yetzirah, and Atzilut. See, if I don't read, I can remember very easily. So Asaya is the earth, or Malkut. So we're going to the other side. Asaya is Malkut. Bria would be the middle triangle. So that would be everything from Od, Netzach, and what was the middle one I can't think of right now? Yesid. So that would be Bria. And then from there up would be Bria, or not Bria, I'm sorry, Yetzirah. That would be the air kingdom, or airplane. That would be Tiferet in the center, Jebra, and then what's the other one? Thinking of right now. Shoot, I know I got it here. Dang, I just drew a blank. I'm really good at this, but I just can't think right now. I've been going all day. I already drank my coffee. It's already gone. Let's see here. Of course, that one doesn't have it. I got the diagram with no names. What good is that gonna do us? Drew. We're gonna do some fast forwarding magic. Here we go. So Tiferet, Jebra, Chesed. That's the next one I was trying to get at. That's Jupiter, and that would be the middle sphere of Yetzirah. And then finally you would have Atzilut. So Malkut, Bria, Yetzirah, and then Atzilut would be Hakma, Bina, and Kita. And then from there, there's a trinity that it goes up into. So from there, you have the Quarternary, the four worlds or elements, and then also you would have your higher ups, which would be the superior heaven, and that would be Ein Sof, and Ein Sof Ein is eye, or it means like a deep abyss, and then Sof means infinite or intellect. So that's what they call the Sufis, and philosophy. That's what you want to. So we're going to correlate a lot of these words. This is syncretism. So a lot of words you're going to have to, when you hear them, break them down and see if they identify with other places or other spheres of intelligence. That way you can start connecting all this together as we go. So yeah, that's a quaternary, and then folded on top is a threefold heaven. Now let's get into that a little bit, because I want to essentially start from the beginning. Now I did talk about from Greek theology, and from the Greek mythology was Phanes, who was born from nothing. He was out of the egg and basically produced a light that was to be heaven and earth. So almost similar, very similar to Egyptian mythology. So in Greek mythology, a lot of the schools in that time, even Saint Saint Paul had spoke about in his doctrines, that there was a deep unknown God that was a shadow of eternity. So basically, this eternal entity that is not even observed as an entity, it's just a motion basically, and from that motion unfolds Phanes. So almost out of nothing. I don't know, there's a lot of ways you could look at that, and there's a lot of terms that you can call these people that believe in these things, but for now we're just observing what the Grecians believed. And so basically it broke down from a threefold heaven out of Phanes. So Phanes would be the one. From Phanes he had two sons, Chaos and Ether, and then would later be known as Uranos and Gaia, so heaven and earth. And from Uranos we would have Cronus. Cronus was his first son. So Cronus, I wrote it out. I did a really good job breaking this down too. So basically, this deep abyss that Phanes came from and broke out of an egg, which they used this egg in all theologies, from the Brahmins, Hindus, by extension, these are the Orphic mysteries, the Orphic mythology. So everything kind of bases itself around this in Christianity. And so what they mention is a lot of seven. So I put here, St. Paul teaches us that there were of the gods to man only a conceivable, teaches us there were of the gods only the conceivable threefold. So that God that we're talking about, that is unconceivable, would only appear in motion, like I said before. So he is or I shouldn't even say he, I hate to put gender on these things because there is no reason to, but the motion that it was expressed was called the fiat. So that's what they named it, only by the motion, by what it's known by, and or the word. So we can call it the word without giving it a name. And this was also in the emblem that they used back then, was the vowels in a halo, and that would be basically what it represents. In China, this would be the Tao. It's so the sound of the seven vowels would be within that halo, or we can call it the Elohim. Elohim is what you call these seven deities, or if you wanted to call them seven planets, or the seven spheres that were active during Genesis 1:20. Remember we said in the first episode. But this would also be even greater, because the Elohim, when you say it with the K, it represents its spiritual essence. So that's what we're going to be using from now on, is Elohim, which are the formators of the earth. Or if you want to call them the artificers. I think I called it something different in the first episode. Totally butchered a lot of words. I had a cold. I don't have the Rona, but I did get a cold, and that's all I got. But I didn't get no coronavirus, but I'm doing way better now. So in this darkness, it would move through a cycle, the fiat, and the cycles were every 7 eternities. So this is a really long time that you start over again. So there might be a time when you wake up from your sleep, and I don't know if you ever get this, but I do sometimes. I feel like, wow, this was a really short life that we had so far, and sometimes I'm like, what am I doing here? I don't know if you ever get those awakenings, or I don't know if it feels like an awakening to you, but sometimes the world feels like really confusing, like what are we doing here? So that is kind of like what I feel like when I think about those 7 eternities. Like, what was there before? Was there a big silence in between lives, in between these gaps? Oh yeah, because I am definitely a big reincarnationist, and I really truly believe that metempsychosis is a true thing that happens. So, for those who don't know what metempsychosis is, this is an unfolding of your soul. Your spirit lasts forever. And what I'm basically driving at here in these videos is how to basically build a soul, because you're born with a spirit, and you enter the spirit into the world with a body. So you're ushered into this world in a flesh form, but with the spirit within. So you can't see your face, only in a mirror, right? So the self that's in there is suspended between a spirit and the flesh. So basically this soul is something that we have to through human experience build on and learn and grow, just like who is it? Plotinus was one of the Neoplatonists who uses a good example of everything having its blossom in radiance, and coming from a heavenly splendor. So a celestial flood or outpouring, and having its blossom downward towards the earth, as we here on the material plane have an upward pull. So we're basically being pulled by magnetism. We're going to get into this right now. So shout out to Santos, because he's the one that turned me on to this electromagnetic polarity of the world. And the way this universe works is through magnetism, electricity, and dielectricity. So we're going to get into that. And that plays into the three planes, or the three heavens that we were talking about. So also with that, well, let's get in. So the seven eternities unfold itself from complete darkness, and then from there Phanes creates duality, because he's the egg. So once we have something out of nothing, there's no longer no thing. This becomes one thing. So basically, when you observe something, that means there's two now, because there's an observance and then there's the actual subject that you're observing. So now there's two. So the polarity comes in also when the egg cracks and Phanes is born. So there becomes the division. Division is what caused Pythagoras to spit up on the ground every time he heard the number 2, or seeing the number 2, because we know division creates death, or it's basically not of divine will. This is something that represents something of death, of not godly aura. So from we had gotten to when the egg cracked, ether chaos, Uranus in Gaia, and from Uranus you go or Uranus you have Cronus. Cronus, I know you guys are probably like, get it out, it's on the tip of your tongue. Cronus had many children with Rhea, and they kept on producing more children and more children, and as they were producing the children, he's gobbling them down, and when he eats them up, eventually Rhea gets smart. She's like, you know what, I'm gonna replace one of these children that we had in swaddling clothes before he eats it with a rock, with a stone. And Rhea giving Cronus the stone, it caused him to throw up. But what happened to the child? That child was set aside, and he grew up, fought his father, who in turn went, okay, so I skipped a whole bunch. So Cronus, when he was born, he took the throne from his father Uranus. And the way he did that was he castrated him. He emasculated him. And what that basically means is, from Uranus, if you're familiar, Uranus means heavens. And when Uranus was, or let's just say when the heavens is cut off, then what do you get? You don't have heavens. And when you think heavens, we think eternity or infinite. And from there, the infinite isn't any longer infinite. If it's becoming cut off, because now we know Cronus means time, and when time is involved, basically you're taking eternity and you're breaking it into portions. So now it's no longer eternity, it's temporal. So Cronus is just causing temporary, or he's just causing duration. So this is what we're talking about here. Everything has its beginning and its end, and we just know that we're here for a very short time, and then before you know it, it's all over with. But why is that? Why do we feel like life is so short? Why does it pass so quickly? Well, so after Cronus had castrated his father, we know that he threw a wrench in the road for time, and so, or eternity. So he created time to basically have a beginning and an end, or a beginning, middle, and end. And this can also be, or we can use, instead of, because it just dawned on me that Cronus is also Shiva, the destroyer, in Hindu mythology. So Shiva means, it can mean 7, but we also know that it means to sever. 7 is to sever. So if you can remember those, let's correlate, words again. So I got you. This one's the easy one. So Shiva means, or Sheba, Shabbat, all those words that have to do with 7. Also remember, sever. So sever his father, and he diced up time into small portions. But when the swaddling clothes were swapped out with the stone, and Zeus, or the young baby that we now know as Zeus, was swapped out with the stone, he grew up to defeat Cronus and took the throne from Cronus. Now, what does that mean now? So, what part is Zeus playing? And Zeus, now we know, is Jesus, or Jupiter Zeus. He's Jupiter in Roman mythology, and so he implements the law, and he basically takes the throne back from evil and division. So what his job to do is to basically implement some kind of for justice. He implements justice. He's a warrior, so he's expanding and taking back the laws of Cronus. Cronus will go ahead and identify now with Saturn in Roman mythology, and Uranus is, or Uranos would be, like we say Uranus in the planets, and he is Salem, or Salus in Roman mythology. There's a few things here I know, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get through them, because it's a little heavy. So I'm gonna try to slow down a little bit. But from there, yeah. So basically, now we got a distinction between eternity and time, and then from time we implement law. Now, why would we need law to be implemented in time? What does that have to do? What is good for us with that? Well, this tells you that in the short time that you're here, it basically gives the opportunity for you to evaluate yourself as a Zeus, and you going against Cronus time to learn how to use time wisely, to spend it correctly, trying to build this soul that we're talking about. Okay, so I don't know what happened. I think my batteries died. Well, they did die, and it was a brand new pack. So where we ended was basically we were talking about the spiritual diffusion, the limitations, and material diffusion. So the spiritual diffusion from Uranos, the limitations set on by Cronus, and then we had the material diffusion, I was going to say Horus, Zeus. And with that, here, you can come sit down right here, monkey. Hold on, Remy wants to join the scene. Come sit right here by Papa's. Okay. Alright. So, we have Uranos, who lost the seat, and he was emasculated by Cronus. Cronus distributed the limitation, so that would be the 7 vestments that are going to be distributed to man. The way they distribute is they impress their body unto your spiritual body, and your physical body will then balance out each one of those vestments bestowed from those 7 vestments. And those are the same as the 7 rays, the 7 vowels, the 7 planets. This is what they talk about. This is what they're all each distributing a different set of color to your life, and also some are electric and then some are magnetic. And you being here on the earth plane are set up against magnetism and electricity, so you're balancing. Everything is a big juggling of cats, so you got to learn how to know yourself. What we're learning is that the material diffusion is you being born pressed against time. So you're basically learning to fight or combat the temporal limits that you were given. So we're not, like I said in the first episode, we're not here knowing what we're supposed to do. You're not given a manual when you're born, but your birthright is astrology, and you, as soon as you learn it, you'll know everything will unfold to you. But in the normal times that we're living in, it's very unusual that it's welcomed into any religion, or it's practiced on the norm. So that is my job. I'm here to help you learn your own astrology. The most important factors being your ascendant, your sun, your moon sign. But back to Zeus and back to Cronus. Now, what we're going to learn about these two, once Cronus swallowed the stone, he was forced to redistribute all his sons and daughters, all of Zeus's brothers and sisters. And basically we learned that Zeus is an energy right turning, let me see, right turning, centrifugal, and divergent, and the opposite being with, and then also magnetic, the opposite being with Cronus, who is left turning, gravitation, and also centripetal and convergent. So as we go on living, life is being sucked back out of you, and your physical body is being forced to drop. Gravity is taking its toll on you. But when you're born, you're expanding, you're feeling good, you're a kid, you're running around with youth and enthusiasm. And that's another word, entheo, that's a godly term. We are basically the living against the Last Supper every day. That is basically the 12 disciples, or the 12 apostles, the 12 signs, sitting at the table being flexed against by one of the betrayers at the table. And basically what that entails is the Eucharist that was given, the blood of Christ, and the bread. Now the bread being the body of Christ, and the wine also being a representation of the blood of Christ. Well, let's just slow down for a second. Let's figure this out. So we know bread represents this. This is transubstantial, not literal. So this is representing for the wine blood, for the blood wine, and for the bread is the body. So these are symbolic, they're representations. A lot of people want to believe that these were real events that took place. Well, they very well might have. But in this channel, it was all metaphorical. It was a story that was put together for you to learn from it. And this plays in good too, because the wine or blood of Christ is actually the fluidic rays distributed from the sun, the Christ, the chrism, the actual sun itself. Those rays are absorbed into your body. Now that's another term for the acidic, or the destroying factor of Cronus. He is acidic, and Christ would be alkalized, or I should say Zeus is alkalized. Zeus, Jupiter, Zeus. Let's put our cards on the table. It's Jesus, Zeus. It's Jupiter and Zeus. So there it is. The monkey's out of the bag now. So now we all know that it is a representation of Zeus. Satan is Cronus, or there's that number again, Set, Satan, Siva, Shabbat, number 7. See, these are only bad because it represents not 7 as an evil number, but 7 as its so you got the 7 good, and then you got 7 bad. 7 virtues and 7 deadly sins. And in Hindu mythology, this is the 7 lokas and the 7 putalas, or 7 talas and 7. These are all lokas. Everything is a loka. A loka is a location. So the 7 talas and the 7 putalas, and those are basically 7 heavens and 7 hells. Same thing is written in Dante's Inferno. There's 7 heavens, 7 hells, and Virgil, one of the well-likened philosophers of that time, was there to take Dante up and through those planes. But yeah, so Jesus, Satan, Cronus, and Zeus. Zeus, Jupiter, Saturn or Saturnus is Satan. This is the same thing with Horus and Set. And also in Masonic lore or legendary, you have Hiram Abiff, Hiram, the widow's son, and Solomon. These three, Solomon being a representation of the father, who that's who it is. It's the father, and he was, or the father was David, and David had Solomon, and he had his friends Hiram of Tyre help him build these, or Hiram, the widow's son. This is a representation of Jesus. I'm sorry, I'm waiting for a real answer, help, but it's just a camera I'm talking to. But I know you're really yelling out something to me. But the widow's son is always Krishna and Kansa, or it's who else is out there? Horus and Set, we already said. But the whole story has to surround around the left turning and right turning, the blue and the red, the positive, the negative. Let's not forget here too that Jupiter is well, I was gonna say he exalts in Cancer, but I don't think that's right. I know that Saturn exalts in the 10th house, Capricorn. Or I might have that backwards. No, that's right. But what I was getting at with the wine was that when Zeus felt it was time to hand over his kingdom to his successor, it was Dionysus. Dionysus eventually became Bacchus of Greece. And his teacher was Solinus. Solinus, like, from Solinus. Solinus was a teacher, though. He was like a teacher of silence. And Bacchus was his student. Bacchus, we all know, is a has a holiday that is represented after him, where they drink the wine, and he is a god of not drunkenness but of wine. And that wine is funny too, because also he was sent up to a mountain by Zeus. He was appointed to go there to be healed, to be nursed, and he was supposed to be healed by a panther. And that's funny too, because in a lot of ancient Jewish lore, Jesus is, his name is, he's the son of the panther. He's Jesus. Yeah, I don't know if you want to call him Joshua, but Yeshush or Jesus or Jesus. We'll just say Jesus ben Pantera. That's the name that he was given upon birth. But this is very controversial, but so what? Everything that we do in life is going to be controversial. You make a move and people start crying right away. But what we have out of the spiritual diffusion, we were given 3. So from Phanes, we were divided into 2. Then it became 3. Then, now from the 7, this welcomes the 4. Because now 3 and 4 is 7. So you're getting 3 spiritual and 4 terrestrial powers, or so to say, energies. And energy is actually a God quality. So what's given is spirit, rest, motion, and matter. So these represent, again, we started with Yahweh. This would be to tie in with that, those 4 planes: earth, water, earth, fire, or, well, let's start from the bottom. Earth, water, air, or fire. Fire and air. Those 2 are always interchangeable. It's also with the spiritual triad too. They don't tell you that, but it is also interchangeable, especially with the Holy Spirit and the Sun. Now, we got same thing with Brahma, or not Brahma. Brahma too. Went from 4 heads to 3 heads. Osiris, Egypt. He went from, he was resurrected. I gotta tell you also, Osiris is represented in the Bible as Lazarus, who is risen again. So this is, remember we said we started with Egypt being part of India. Well, Osiris came to Egypt on a bull. That was Serapis. Same thing, it's the same person. And the bull is always symbolic of God. So whether you like it or not, God is representative with horns. So it doesn't mean it's satanic or demonic. Anything demonic, that's black magic. That's inverted spiritual or divinity. So we could just, get that out of the way right now. So back again. Oh, and then we got the 33 rungs of your spine that are symbolic of the 33 Kola Devas of Hindu. Remember I was saying those are the main deities or entities of Hinduism. Those 33 are representative of the 33 segments of your spine, which are also divided into 3. You got 7, 12, 5. What is that? That's 24. 24, and then I want to say there's 9 more in between. Oh, that's because your sacrum is divided into 5, and then it's fused, and then you have the 3 cosix, or what do they call it? Consexual, conjugal. I can't even remember. I'm so tired right now. But we always have these three that turn into four. Osiris is four. He becomes four different Osirises. I think I wrote it down here too. Hang fire, peoples. I wrote this down just for you. Okay, of course it's not there when I'm looking for it. Oh, here we go. So we have here the four streams of Brahma, which turn into three. We already said on the first episode, the three, Agni, gosh, I was going to say Lakshmi, but it's not Lakshmi. Agni, Varuna, and Magos. And then, let's see, what else? In the Bible, it's the Aaron and Moses, but they're together, they're united by the staff. So remember, too, also in Hebrew, that the hook is representative of the letter V or Vav. So whenever you say Yod He Vav He, you're putting the hand with the nail to another nail or another hand. So it's Yod He Vav He, and then everything else is let's see, Atma Budai Manas. Egyptian is Atmu Puta Kaba, and then Brahmanic it's Brahma Vishnu Shiva. Egyptian it's Ra is El or Israel. That's the name we're getting at. Also Osir, Iset, and Horus, or Osiris, Isis, Horus. Nordic it's Odin, Frigga, Balder. In alchemy we got sulfur, salt, and mercury. Also, too, remember you can interchange those two last ones, salt and mercury. But whatever it is, mercury is the fluidic messenger, so it's always flowing of that God knowledge. He is the messenger of the gods. In Babylonian, you have Marduk, Ishtar, and Nabu. Which Nabu is also like another Buddha, or Odin, or Votan in Mexico. Let's see here. Atma Prana Rupa, so that's Hindu, or yeah. And then in Hebrew we got, I wrote it in Hebrew 3 letters, so it's Shin, Aleph, Mem. Shin is fire or teeth. Aleph is it's like an oxen or god for the letter A, and it stands for air. And then Mem is water, and that is also, see, here we go, syncretism. The word memory, to remember, all that. Also, continuing down the Bible representations, you have Adam, David, and the Messiah, which is also an acronym for Adam, ADM. Rama, Krishna, Balaram, that's another Israel. So Ra, that's Rama with Ra, and Krishna is and Balaram has L in it, so Israel is represented in there. And magnetism, dielectricity, and electricity. But what I was getting at was with that's what I was saying about the wine. Sudas. Suda is wine in Hindu, so back to that. You read the Sudas, or you can call them Sudras, whatever, but yeah, we call the sun Surya in Indian. The Osirian aspects, when he comes in the form of 4. So back to the 4 streams, we're going to get into the elements now, since we already broke down the 3. So I want to get this out here. So with the 4 streams, you have fire, water, air, Earth. This is just another order. It's the same 4, but just in a different order. And so you have Osiris Horus, Osiris Lune, Osiris Ptah, Osiris Typhon. So Osiris Horus would be fire, Osiris Lune is water, Osiris Ptah would be air, Osiris Typhon would be earth. So with these 4 elements, let's just be clear here. You can call me a flat earther, whatever you want, but in astrology, Earth isn't used as a planet in writing your chart. In geocentric, astrology is still used till this day, whether you believe in the ball Earth or not. Any astrologer you go to is using flat Earth astrology. This goes without saying. Remy, get away from there, baby, move. But these 4 elements are just 4 vibrations, because the Earth is not a planet, so to say. It's more of an element. It's not a principle either. It's a container of principles. So these 4 elements are, principles. So again, fire, no form, no volume. Water, no form, with volume. Air, no form, no volume. It's invisible, but you know it's there. And same thing with no, not the same thing. Earth is form with volume. So this is the exact opposite of air. It has formation, rigidity, all that. In mental attributes, you'll have consciousness that corresponds to fire. Psychology corresponds to water. Air with mentality, and earth with materiality. So this is where you're always going to be with consciousness and materiality. Fire and earth, or air and earth. Fire and water. These are always 2 opposites of each other. So there's always these polarities in fire and water, air and earth, or whatever. So another correspondence would be with the consciousness. So the consciousness can be broken down into 4 as well. This would be emotion, vitality, mind, and physicality. And the organs, fire corresponds with the liver. These are 4. These organs I represent in my book as 4 brains. So you would have 4 psychological centers in your body that are really brains. So they work like brains. You think through them. You don't think with them. You think through them. So it would be a liver with fire, spleen with water, brain with air or mind, and heart with earth. Because if you rearrange heart, you get the word earth. So that's essentially a vital area where basically life is pumped through. Let's see, why did I put Chiram? Oh, in the name Chiram, you have Kamak, Majim, Rauch, and Karam. So that would be Karam. Karam with earth, Rauch with air. Rauch. Majim is water, and Kamak is fire. So I might have butchered those, but just if there's closed captioning, you might want to get that and see if I got it right. Okay, so as consciousness materializes, the spirit becomes heavy, descending into matter. This is what. So real quick, battery died again. I gotta figure out a way to get this thing plugged into the wall, but I just wanted to get this out there. There is a power of 7 that represents the God flow that comes from the heavens, and like I said, the soul is met here, in between. It's suspended between, heaven and earth. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go on to the next level next week, and we'll do. I just wanted to get this out for the full moon, so the next 2 weeks you're gonna have a nice, good series. But this next episode, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get onto the planets, and we're gonna go deep into what they're representing. Right now, you just got a good little representation of what the symbolization of 3 and 4 are. If we need to go deeper, I'll look at the comments and I'll see if it's something that we need to indulge in. But I'll definitely do a separate one for Trinity, Quarternary, and the number 7, and then we'll do the 12, the 24 later. Eventually, we'll get into the 72. See if you guys can handle that. But for right now, we'll go ahead and say peace, and everybody be safe out there. Namaste, homies.